On this edition of Fulton at Work, not even once. That's the message the Fulton County Youth Commissioners are spreading to their peers, informing them of the dangers and consequences of drug usage, possession, and trafficking. I'm Daryl Carver. All this and more is coming up right now on Fulton at Work. Statistics in Just Plain Parenting proves that giving into peer pressure is bound to happen at least once in a teen's life, especially when drugs are involved. Fulton County's youth commissioners are determined to keep their peers from making a costly mistake. FGTV's Felicia Church has more.
Introduce the person who's going to introduce
Inside
them.
Camp Creek Middle School, students were encouraged to just say no to drugs. Whether it's trying to fit in, rebel, or simply experimenting, young people have given various reasons for trying drugs. A recent survey taken by students from 50 Fulton County middle and high schools found drugs to be the top issue. The youth commissioners developed an initiative called Not Even Once.
We go throughout schools and do workshops on prevention, intervention, and encouraging young people not to even try the drug once and to think before they act, and a wide range of life skills and decision-making skills.
The launch of the Not Even Once initiative, or NEO as it's called, happened recently at Camp Creek Middle School, where the 6th and 8th graders knew a lot about drugs already due to today's music and media.
I was very surprised to see the knowledge that these students already had about drugs, which is more of a reason why as government, as adults, as guardians to these young people, that we need to be more proactive than reactive in ensuring that they're prepared and equipped for the peer pressure and the exposure that they already have to these types of drugs.
From goggles that give students the feeling of being inebriated and high to a drug kit that shows how drugs look so they won't get tricked into taking them, the interactive workshops were a big hit. They even heard from a guest speaker who started drugs at their age and lost his sight as a result.
I want the kids to know that, due to my story, that the outcome of sometimes the decisions we make, unfortunately mine has to do with drugs, and I want them not to make the same mistakes that I did.
Hearing from someone who's experienced dangers of drugs and from their peers really had the students engaged.
I think the kids are much more receptive to kids like me that are closer to their age, because I feel like they can relate more and that we have more life experience bringing to them. And I think they're much more receptive to the kids talking to them than adults.
It's just great to see the young people engaged to our presentation. They were very engaged. This is a topic that is very important to them.
The NEO tour, which will continue until the end of the school year, will involve visits to 14 more schools and include a minimum of 2 school visits per Fulton County Commission district. Reporting for FGTV, I'm Felicia Church.
Thank you, Felicia. When we come back, Youth Commission Coordinator Reginald Crosley joins us to talk more about this program and the reaction it's receiving. So please stay with us. Welcome back to Fulton at Work. I'm Daryl Carver. Telling a tween or a teen to say no to drugs seems simple, but thanks to peer pressure, getting them to understand why is a completely different challenge. The Not Even Once Drug Prevention Tour hopes to help, and joining us now to talk a little bit more about this particular initiative is Youth Commission Coordinator Reginald Crosley. First of all, thank you for joining us on Fulton at Work.
Thank you for having me, Daryl.
Now, before we get into the Not Even Once Drug Prevention Tour, talk about some of the reasons that have been given for taking drugs by teens.
Well, we receive a wide range of reasons on why young people choose to take drugs, and many of them have to do with popularity, fitting in, also perhaps wanting to appeal to a specific person. We also find stress being a factor as well. So those are primarily the main issues why young people are engaging in drug usage.
Now, what is the Not Even Once, or NEO for short, Drug Prevention Tour, and how did this first come about?
Well, the Not Even Once initiative was a concept from the Fulton County Youth Commission. This is a body of high school teens who represent every district within Fulton County. So collectively, we go into these communities and we host focus groups, panel discussions. We also survey many of these schools and students and find out what the top issues are. And we found across the board that drugs were the top issues within all of the schools within Fulton County. So as a result, we created this initiative to help address the issues of drugs.
Now, you said in the past that you've been very surprised by how much middle school students actually know about drugs. How do they learn that much at such a young age?
Well, with the World Wide Web at their fingertips and media and music glorifying this type of activity, it's pretty clear on where they're learning the information. And it's sad to see that these young people are starting even earlier on. It's very rare that you find middle school students using painkillers or using heroin. And we have these young people starting at such an early age, which is so important that we start our prevention messages as early as even elementary school.
Now, you said that you've heard about 95% of young people either knew someone who's used drugs or admitted using drugs. How concerned does that statistic make you in particular?
Well, it's a big concern and it should be a concern for everyone. These young people, again, are starting to use very harsh drugs at the age of a middle school student. So by the time they get to high school or even beyond, they're already will possibly be addicted to some of the harshest drugs out there. So it's important that we start very early on, that we share the consequences for possession, for the health effects for consuming these drugs, and many other things that come with that type of lifestyle.
Now, one of the great things about Not Even Once is something beyond just the speaking part of it. There's some hands-on interactive activities that are involved. For instance, tell us a little bit more about the DUI drug goggles.
Yes, we use a professional pair of DUI drug goggles like these goggles here, and they give you the feeling of being highly intoxicated, whether off of alcohol or some type of drug. You get a distorted feeling, you lose your balance, you're totally distorted. And that's the luxury, or not necessarily the luxury, but that's the advantage of having these young people try it through the lens of these goggles and not the real thing. And so many of them you would hear them say that, look, I'm not even gonna try it, just because the way these goggles made me feel. So it's a great way to help deliver the message and give them an actual visual. A lot of our teens are visual learners, so us telling them they're bad versus them trying this on and trying to function with these goggles are a much better way of getting the message across.
And you talk about that visual learning component. I know another part of this is the professional drug kit that you show to the young people. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, we utilize a professional drug kit that has a variety of drugs encased so they can see a display on site. These are the live drugs. We've been told that it's the real drug just coated with a chemical that makes it lose its potency. So these students get to see the real thing. And this will also serve as a preventative measure where they won't be coerced into taking a drug that they know nothing about. So they would have already seen the visuals of it, so no one can try to trick them into taking this drug. So that's really primarily the purpose of our drug kit, giving them that visual.
And I know you talked about some of these young people being very visual learners. What are they hearing, though, from their peers? I know that they like to talk to their peers who are part of the Fulton County Youth Commission. How have those discussions helped?
Well, science indicates that peer-to-peer communication is the best way to get a message across. So we use young people like the youth commissioners or the star athletes at the school, SGA school presidents, to help get the message across. People who are popular or may have the ear of their peers are usually the best route of getting our message out into the schools.
And what's been the overall reaction to the NEO initiative? Do you feel it's actually getting through to the young people you go visit?
Absolutely. We have received a great response. Many times the students don't want us to end our workshop. They don't want us to close the drug kit. They want to keep playing with the DUI goggles. We've received several requests to come back for a second round to some of the schools. So the response has been great. We hope to reach as many schools and teens as possible, and we will definitely continue this initiative.
Now, is the goal to reach every single school in Fulton County once, or will this be continuous for every school year?
The goal is to reach as many schools as possible. Currently, our goal is to reach 2 schools per commission district. But our hope is to, as the year goes on, to go to schools that we haven't visited yet.
Now, what is the Not Even Once Drug Prevention Guide, and how can people get a hold of one of them?
Yes, the Not Even Once Drug Prevention Manual will be available for electronic download. Currently, they're being distributed while we're in the schools facilitating our workshops as part of our presentation. However, we will make it available for download on the Fulton County website.
Sounds like a fascinating program. Now, when we come back, we'll take a look at some of the ways youth commissioners are getting their message across to their peers when school isn't in session. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Fulton at Work. I'm Daryl Carver. The Not Even Once Drug Prevention Tour not only visits the classroom, but it's also there at the big game or celebrating the prom king and queen. Now, Youth Commission Coordinator Reginald Crosley is back here with more on that. During the spring season, prom is a really big thing for parents and the kids. How do the youth commissioners incorporate prom safety with the NEO drug prevention workshops?
Well, in the past, we have developed a prom safety campaign where we have various high schools compete on who can pull together the best safety plan, and whether this plan will be through social media, through school posters, or a message during prom. The winning school gets their prom partially sponsored by the Youth Commission and some of our partners. We partner with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, AAA, all to ensure that these young people have a safe night during the prom season. So we also bring celebrity guests along with us. So during the prom, we will get 10 to 15 minutes to deliver a message, maybe get a celebrity performer to come out, but to ensure that we're drilling safety on the night of prom. And at times we may even share horror stories, or even have a vehicle that was in a prom crash parked outside of the prom as a reminder to think before you act on prom night.
Are the schools helping the commissioners spread their message during prom season?
Absolutely. We work closely with Atlanta Public Schools, Fulton County Schools, and many other schools within Fulton County to help get our message of safety across. We coordinate a wide range of social media campaigns, PSAs through some of the popular radio stations to ensure that young people are hearing this message all throughout the day, all throughout the season, so safety is on their mind at all times.
Now, from what you understand, is drug use is prevalent while proms are taking place?
Yes, according to Mothers Against Drunk Driving, 41% of prom goers indicated that they engaged in some type of illegal activity, whether that was underage drinking or taking some type of drug or driving without a license or driving under the influence. They put themselves in harm's way or engaged in some type of illegal activity on prom night.
Now, what are the signs parents can look at that point toward possible drug or alcohol use before their child even leaves the house for prom?
There are no particular signs, but I would definitely advise parents to share the horror stories with your child, to have the one-on-one discussion on safety on prom night, on a simple decision causing them their life or the life of a friend, especially those who are drivers and who will transport friends on prom night. So we encourage parents and, of course, teens to talk to your friends, talk to your children about being safe on that night, and don't hesitate to share some of the horror stories that are out there.
Now, I know Friday night football games are big events for both middle and high school kids. Is that another opportunity that you use to get the message of Not Even Once out there?
Yes, the Youth Commission usually coordinates activities during the halftime at some of these big high school games. So we'll bring almost like a pep rally style presentation with celebrities, with other teens, with the star football player or the star basketball player to help get our message of being drug-free, being violence-free, and overall safety on prom night or following the game or just as a teenager overall.
So I guess on that note, I mean, are those game nights also another opportunity for kids to indulge in drug use?
Absolutely. Whenever you can get a group of students together when they're off of school property or when they're where it's after school hours, you find young people wanting to engage in drinking or some type of drug. So yes, whenever these games or big functions take place, it's important that we communicate a message of safety to our teens.
And no part of that message is not just about not trying drugs, but it's also about safe driving and violence. What's being done to fight those issues in particular?
Well, the violence prevention has been a very serious topic for the Youth Commission as well. Working on efforts for anti-bullying within the schools. We also released a anti-bullying tip sheet and violence prevention tip sheet, encouraging young people to step up and be the whistleblower when you see something that's not going correctly or we see someone being bullied. We ask that students take control of ensuring that their friends are doing the right thing and ensuring that they're doing the right thing as well.
Now, when you have the peers talk to the youth commissioners, or when you talk to these young people yourself, tell us some of the stories that you hear from them about some of their experiences involving friends or even themselves involved in drug or alcohol use.
Well, we find that so many teens are using drugs. So I hear so many stories that may not hit the media, but these are stories that are taking place locally here in Metro Atlanta of teens overdosing or drinking under the influence and causing an accident. Or we had a recent one where a young man drove his vehicle into someone's house and he was apparently on some sort of painkillers. So we hear these types of stories often, and I use them as a way to prevent young people from being a victim or taking that path.
Now, before we go, we wanted to tell a little bit more to our viewers about the youth commissioners and how their children in particular can get involved with them.
Yes, the Fulton County Youth Commission usually recruits around the spring months. Our application deadline is traditionally on the last day of school for Atlanta Public Schools and Fulton County Schools. We're looking for young people with an interest in government or who simply want to be a voice for teens throughout Fulton County, who want to help government develop solutions to youth issues, or who may be debaters, who inspire to be attorneys, who want to be elected officials. So we look for young people who simply want to give back in some capacity and want to be a part of government.
Reginald Crosley, thank you so much for your time. Great information, and we're glad to pass it on to young people and their parents.
Thank you for having me.
We're back to wrap up the show after this short break. That's all of our time, and thank you for joining us for Fulton at Work. And a very special thanks to our guest, Reginald Crosley from the Fulton County Youth Commission. Now we want to connect with you online. Please check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm Daryl Carver, and we'll see you next time.